Hey, my friend, let's talk about why you change your mind all the time. If you're a perfectionist type of person like me, then you understand what this is like. You understand that sometimes you're very indecisive. You can't decide which path to take in life. Maybe it's a career path. You don't know which career to choose, which business to create, which partner to marry, or whatever. You're very indecisive, and you find it hard to commit to something and stick with it for a long period of time. And this is something that I've struggled with for a long time. And it wasn't until recently that I started to get serious about solving this in my life because I realized how much it was holding me back. Because for a long time, I had tried to start many different things in my life. I had decided to go down one path, and then I would change my mind like within a month or two, and I'd go down a new path. I try to start one business, and then a couple months later, I was like, no, maybe that's not the business I want, or that's not the product I want to make, and maybe I should create this other thing instead, or choose this other business instead, because maybe this one thing that I chose isn't going to work out. Maybe it'll fail. Maybe it's not going to be successful. And so in my mind, I was rationalizing it, like why I should like either change my mind or like do many things at once and like spread myself amongst all these other projects and things. Because by spreading myself thin, I thought, oh well, that's reducing my risk, because if this one thing doesn't work out over here, then this other thing over here has a chance of being successful, so at least I'll have something. I won't be left with nothing, right? So this is like a rationalization in my mind for why I should be indecisive or be all over the place and be doing 10 different things at once instead of focusing on one thing. And what this actually does is it doesn't increase your chances of success. It actually decreases your chances of success, because one of the key elements required for success at anything is focus and commitment, and being focused on it for an extended period of time, long enough to see it through to the end and see it to completion. I see this so many times in the business world. People who try to start businesses, and it's amazing how many people fail when they're starting a business. And the number one reason I think people fail when they start a business is because they simply quit too soon. They quit when it gets hard. They quit when they don't see the results after 3 months. They have no patience. They can't think long term. They can't focus on something long enough to really learn and grow in that area and master that thing and become really, really good at it, which could take years, you know. Some things take years to master. So if you're not willing to commit to one thing for several years, your chances of success in that are very, very slim. So one of the key things you need to develop in order to become successful in life is your ability to be very decisive. And what I realized in my life was that me changing my mind all the time and doing all these different things and spreading myself thin, I realized that all this really was a rationalization and an excuse for fear. It was really fear under the surface. That's really where perfectionism stems from, I think, is fear. We want to be perfect in our life, and we want to have everything figured out. And if we don't have it figured out, we don't want to do it because we're afraid of failure. It's really fear. We're afraid of failure, or we're afraid of criticism from other people. What are they going to say about my work if it's not perfect? If there's a flaw in it, someone's going to point that out and criticize me for that. And then I'm not going to be good enough, and then I'm going to feel like crap. You know, like a lot of this stuff stems from early childhood, especially if you had strict parents. Like I know I grew up with a pretty strict mother, and I think that instilled a lot of fear and insecurity in me because she was so strict. And I'm not blaming her for anything. I'm just saying, like, that's how it was, you know. She was strict, and in some ways that helped me in life, but in other ways it made me fearful and insecure in some ways. So there's good and bad to everything. So I'm not saying you should blame anyone for why you are the way you are, but we just have to be aware of these things, you know. So I realized that it was this insecurity and this fear, and I realized that deep down I secretly felt that this one thing that I decided on, I secretly felt that it might not be successful and that it was going to fail. And because I thought that it was going to fail, deep down in my unconscious, I felt like, oh, it's not going to work, because I had this insecurity. Because I felt that way secretly, I would change my mind all the time. And I would say, oh, well, that might not work, so I'll just do this other thing over here. This other thing has a better chance. This is a better strategy or tactic, and I'll do this instead. And I was doing this for years, changing my mind constantly, going from one idea to the other, and never really mastering anything, never being focused on anything long enough to see it through to success. And what I want you to do is start thinking about things differently and stop believing that there is a right or wrong path in life. That's what I needed to realize, is that it doesn't really matter what path you take. All that matters is that you commit to that path, because if you just commit to that path and you keep going down that one path, you will learn as you go, and you'll be able to make adjustments and tweaks and changes, and you'll be able to be successful. Maybe your original plan might not work out exactly as you thought. Maybe you'll change direction slightly, but it's not like a completely different idea. It's not like you're jumping from here to all the way over here. No, you're going down this one path, and then you make small adjustments as you go until you get what you want. And you will be successful as long as you just keep going down that one path. And I don't think you should change your mind at all until you are successful with that one thing. At least you see some level of success. Then once you have success, then you can change to a different thing if you want, But you have to see it through to completion. See that idea through until it's successful. Because what I started doing in my life as of recently is I try to imagine that failure was not even possible. Imagine that it didn't really matter what strategy you used or what career path you chose or what thing you wanted to create in your life. It doesn't really matter. You will be successful at it if you commit to it and you dedicate yourself to it. Because in this world has a lot of noise. There's a lot of people telling you that one path is the right way, and don't do this over here. This is the best way, and no, this is the best way. And it's very common in business. If you've ever tried to start a business and you've learned about business, you know that everyone is shouting something different. Everyone is telling you that this strategy is the best way. No, you should you should sell books. No, you should sell digital products. No, you should sell physical products. No, you should start a t-shirt shop. No, you should use this tactic. No, use this tactic. No, do this. And everyone is shouting something different, that you should do this or that or whatever. And you have to quiet all that noise and really just go within and say, what do I really want to do? Regardless of what anyone thinks, regardless of success or failure. If I had complete freedom, if money wasn't an obstacle, if nothing really mattered except that I enjoyed the path that I was on, what path would I take in that case? What would I do? What would I really want to do if I had complete freedom? And what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? If I knew that I would be successful at that no matter what? That's how you have to think. Because if you think that there's some possibility of failure and that it's all going to go to crap and it's not going to work out and you're going to end up worse off than you were before, if you think there's so much at stake, then you're going to fill yourself with fear, and that fear is going to stop you from taking any action at all. So what would you really do if you had complete freedom? In my life many years ago, I knew I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be a writer and write books. And at that time, I was so committed and so dedicated that I was literally writing books in my car at my factory job where I was making minimum wage on my lunch break. So while everyone else was eating their lunch and chatting away and smoking their cigarettes or whatever, I was in my car, eating my lunch in my car alone and writing my books in my notebook with pen and paper. That's how committed I was. I was willing to just do whatever it took to become an author. And I did become an author. I did write a lot of books, some short guides and stuff that I published, and I made $30,000 doing that. And I saw it through till success. And it wasn't until I had a lot of success with that first business that I ever started, it wasn't until then that I changed my focus and I changed my direction. So this is just an important lesson for anyone that is a perfectionist type of person, because you have to realize that underneath the surface of perfectionism is just a lot of fear and insecurity. And you have to learn how to release that fear and insecurity. And I just made a video about this actually, about how to overcome anxiety and depression and other emotional challenges. I made a video about this. I'll try to link that below in the description or show notes, or somewhere in this video there'll be a link to that. It's called How to Overcome Anxiety Using the RISE method, which is a method that I developed that helped me tremendously with overcoming the insecurities and self-doubts and anxieties that were holding me back in my life. It helped me so much, and it helped me release those emotions that were making me change my mind all the time. Because here's the thing also that I forgot to mention. Let's say you're feeling really good about an idea. You feel emotionally happy. You're happy and you have this idea and you're like, yes, this is what I want to do. This is going to be it. This is the path I'm taking. But then a few weeks later, you're not feeling so happy. You're going to change your mind about that idea because of your emotional state. Your emotional state attaches with the thought. So if you feel happy and then you have an idea and you're excited about that idea and you want to take action on that idea, but then the next week you feel a little sad or a little depressed or a little down, what's going to happen? You're not going to take action on that idea because you don't feel excited about it. You don't feel passionate about it. You don't feel inspired. So your mind will change with your emotional state. How you're feeling will determine how you're thinking, which will determine how you're going to act, which will determine the results you get in your life. So one of the keys to being able to be successful at anything and to stop changing your mind and to be able to focus and see things through, one of the keys is learning how to create emotional stability and learn how to be happy no matter what. So learn how to be at peace and feel confident and inspired no matter what the results are. Because if you don't feel good about the journey you're on, you're not going to stay on that journey. If you don't feel excited about what you're doing in life, you're not going to stay on that path. You're going to change your mind naturally because you're not doing what you love, right? So it doesn't really matter what we do in life. What matters is that we know how to stay at peace and stay feeling good within ourselves. Because when we feel good within ourselves and we make a decision, that decision is going to be more stable because our emotions are more stable. If you don't have emotional stability in your life, then your decisions are going to change all the time. They're going to fluctuate up and down with your emotions. If you don't have that emotional stability, if you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't feel confident, if you don't feel at peace, your ideas will change with your emotional state. So this is another one of the major reasons that people change their mind all the time, is because they're basing their decisions in life off their emotions rather than committing to something and seeing it through no matter what the emotion is. So there's two ways to go about this. The better way, what I believe is the better way, is to just learn how to create emotional stability in your life so that you feel good no matter what. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just to develop mental strength to where you commit to something and you say, this is the path I'm taking, and it doesn't matter if I feel good about it or not, I'm still going to do it. Like, I'm going to do this thing whether I feel like doing it or not. And you just commit mentally and you do it no matter what. So that is usually the beginning, actually. Usually we have to mentally commit to something first, whether we feel like it or not, whether we feel good in the moment or not. As long as at some point in time, if at some point in time we thought that was a good idea and we felt excited about it and passionate about it, then that's a sign that it's probably a good idea and you'll probably be successful with it if you see it through. So what we have to do is mentally commit to that in those moments of emotional high, when we feel good about it, mentally commit to that, but then tell ourselves in advance that even if your emotions change, you tell yourself this, you say, I know that my emotions are not going to always be what they are now. I know that sometime in the future, I'm not going to feel as inspired as I do right now. And I'm well aware of that. I know that my emotions change, and I know that I may lose enthusiasm about this project at some time. But I'm not going to allow that emotional change dictate what I do and what I commit to. And you tell yourself that in advance so that you're prepared for it. You know that you're not always going to feel super inspired, but you know that that doesn't mean the idea changes. It doesn't mean the path you're on changes. You stay aligned no matter what. And then on top of that, what we can do is we can use something like the RISE method. Should be a link below to that video. We can use the RISE method to get a little more emotional stability so that we feel naturally inspired and happy every step of the way, so that we enjoy the journey to success rather than being attached to the outcomes and results. Because that is what stops a lot of people too. When they don't see the results right away, they quit on themselves and they change their mind because they're attached to the outcome, and they secretly think that only when they get that outcome will they be happy. And because that outcome or result often takes a lot longer to manifest than we would like it to, then people tend to not see things through to the end because it's just too long of a wait. In our mind, we're like, I don't want to wait that long for this happiness that I think is in the future. We have to take that attachment away. We have to break that attachment and realize that the future result is not going to make you happy. What's going to make you happy is just being aligned on the path and seeing consistent progress and knowing that you're heading in a direction that is worthwhile, and that eventually you'll be successful with it, but you're not attached to that. You're just focused on enjoying the journey, and you're not letting the outside things dictate your emotional state. So that gives you emotional stability, and when your emotions level out, then your mind stops changing so much. It's much easier to commit to something when you have emotional stability. It's much harder to commit to something when your emotions are always changing, because emotions are stronger than thoughts in most cases. Your emotions will usually override your thoughts. So even if you commit to something mentally, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes your emotions will just take over you, and it doesn't matter if you committed to that thing last week. Your emotions are not helping you this week, so you're not committed to it this week. You were committed last week because you were feeling good, but this week you're feeling down or depressed, so now you're not committed. So your commitments will change based on how you feel. So ideally, we want to reach a level of emotional stability, emotional peace, and confidence, and learn how to feel good no matter what the result is. That will take away a lot of that insecurity and perfectionist tendencies and all the changing of the mind and changing directions. If we just feel good along the way, we won't feel as much of an urge to change our direction because we feel like everything is okay, all is well, right? So these are my thoughts that I wanted to share with you today from a lot of personal experience, and I'm still figuring this stuff out. It's not like I have this all figured out. It's not like I've completely eliminated this in my own life. I still struggle with it sometimes, but I'm learning to understand where it's really coming from, learning to be more aware of the fear and insecurity that is under the surface that is really blocking me and blocking many, many people in this world. I know that. And so I just want to be of service to you and just shed some light on these things and help you understand them a little better. And I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, please comment below and let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, like this video, share it with someone if you think it can help them, and I'd really appreciate that. And if you have any questions you want me to answer in a future episode, or a topic you'd like me to discuss, just put that in the comments below as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.